Welcome back. Now, Kumi Naidoo has recently published heartfelt notes to his dearest Ma in his memoir titled Letters to My Mother, The Making of a Troublemaker. The book shares a personal account of Kumi as a young boy growing up in an apartheid-era township of Chatsworth and the devastating loss of his mother and son due to suicide, and how his family dealt with the aftermath of bereavement by building stronger bonds. Kumi also touches on his 40-year-old quest to bring positive change in the world through his humanitarian interventions, and also pays tribute to his friends, comrade and neighbours he crossed paths with during South Africa's dark times. Kumi Naidoo joins us on the line now to dissect this book. Kumi, a very good morning to you. A warm welcome to Morning Live. I suppose we should start with, about this book, Letters to My Mother, and why it is the right time for you to share the story with everyone.
Thank you, and good morning to you and your listeners. The truth is, I've been wanting to write for quite some time, but the death of my sister in 2018, sudden death, was sort of the real motivation to reach out and communicate with my mother in a spiritual sense. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, it was COVID that kind of locked me down in London when I had stepped down from Amnesty. And that put me in a situation where I had to eventually deal with the grief and the trauma of my mum's loss more than 40 years ago. So I'm glad I finally did that.
Take us back to your 15-year-old self when you lost your mother to suicide, and the suicide letter, that last letter she wrote to you.
Yeah, to lose a parent generally is one of the worst things. To lose a parent by suicide is, even more devastating. So the letter that my mom left was just basically encouraging us to be happy and that she was checking out, which was, as a 15-year-old, and my brother was 14, my little sister was 6. Thankfully, my younger sister was older sister was 4 years older. And when you're 15, 19 seems like ancient. And my sister Kay's passing in 2018 kind of brought back my mother's suicide in a way, because I never thought I would experience that scale of loss again. But, what I've learned through the years is that one of the best ways to deal with grief and trauma is to live your life with purpose and to always look around you, and you'll find that there are people suffering so much more than you are, and to try to do something good with your life to help people live with dignity. Mm-hmm. So I try to turn the tragedy into something positive.
Yeah. You say that her death was a catalyst to your already growing political awakening. Tell us more about this.
So, like all parents, people don't realize that most parents in that period want to keep the children away from politics across whichever community you look at, right? The instinct of most parents, there were exceptions. I need to protect my children from the violence of apartheid South Africa. And, the very strong nurturing and protecting impulse of parents is very, very relevant in our case. And, that at that time, the 1980 school boycotts would happen, shortly after my mom's passing. And we were 15-year-olds, which means we were children, right? Mm. And suddenly we were thrown into leadership roles, leading the boycotts, fighting the apartheid system and so on. And our lives following my mom's death was transformed within months. To be honest, before my mom died, my brother Coben and I would be teased. Actually, be called script jacks was the term. I don't know if you know this term. Script jacks, meaning you were like a really scared person. and never got into trouble. And suddenly we get this struggle is something we embrace, and then we go from jacks to sort of freedom fighters. And that was a very big transition for us that my mom's death brought about. And most of this journey I traveled with my 1 year younger than me brother, Colvin.
All right, Kumi, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but thank you so much for talking to us about his newly released memoir titled Letters to My Mother, The Making of a Troublemaker. That